Today I'm at our beautiful Barcelona office in conversation with a friend, someone that I really admire and I met a few years ago and have been following his path, his journey, not only because he speaks my language, Spanish, but also he speaks the language of integration. Today I'm in conversation with Roberto Acevedo, COE, Integration Manager at Jacobs Douwe, JDE. Welcome, Roberto. Please tell us more about yourself and what you're working on.
Thank you, Roberto. For me, it was a no-brainer when you invited me because, of course, he's in the background. This is my favorite city, so I would always say yes. And especially, I also admire Roberto so much. I think that his journey, us being Latinos, that connection is very close, and very happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for making it to Barcelona. Obviously, with this weather and this stunning background of the marina, is the perfect combination, right, to talk about all these industry trends which keep us busy. So yeah, let's talk about SAP integration, about enterprise integration. What are your latest projects and maybe updates you can share with us, Roberto?
Well, at least on the SAP part, the expert. You are the expert.
Well,
I'm not the one. I'm not the one, but I mean, I also lead the part of integration where we also integrate with SAP. And we've been working with SAP PO for such a long time. But now that we're going to embark in this journey, sooner or later, everyone is going to embark in this journey of migrating to S/4HANA. So everything's going to the cloud, and that's a trend. Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of challenges about migrating your usual PO integrations and flows to something in the cloud now. And for us, I think what I see is more about not really the challenge of moving integrations from one place to the other. I think that's also something that happens once in a while. We see it happen, every year, sometimes. But the most important thing is, how are you going to move, right? Are you going to just do lift and shift and then just continue to do the same, or are you going to transform? And I think certainly the way of doing this is a hybrid. Some things you want to keep the same, some things you don't want to touch to start with, so that your business can keep running. But you also need to set a standard of how you want to continue your journey of transforming the integration practice, and that this is the perfect moment to start. What do you think? What are things that Rojo also thinks about migrating with SAP integration, or what are the trends that you see?
Yes, exactly. Like you mentioned, Roberto, we see that this is a big transformation moment, especially for customers who have been working with SAP and with SAP-rich landscapes. This is the moment when they, there is a call to action to look seriously into their landscapes and use this unique opportunity, because I think it doesn't happen too often. I think if you look at the history of SAP back in the 80s and 90s, I think this is one of the biggest transformations, of course, coming from legacy and all these classic ECC systems moving into the cloud. It represents a lot of effort and leaving behind old ways of working, moving into a new way of working with all the new advancements and functionalities that SAP BTP and Rise with SAP is providing. And also because of the proliferation of SaaS. So Rojo, from the beginning, we have taken this, and I would say this mission to help and enable those organizations and our partners, because of course we always work in combination in that ecosystem, right? Clients, partners, and Rojo as a holy trinity. And our mission is simple. Basically, we want to accelerate that transformation to the future by adding value, not by just, PowerPoint and selling slides, but by adding value, providing products with high quality. And these products if you ask me what do they mean for the migration, well, we have, of course, accelerators, which come with a high amount of automation and best practices. As you know, we work closely with partners like SAP in creating, I will say, business-centric integration. And I think that's the beauty of this, right? Everything we do, it's coming from that business-centric integration, combined with the expertise around SAP integration, all the way from PO to the new world of cloud integration.
This is interesting because I always try to ask these questions. Do you think this transformation is about the business or is it about IT?
Very, very good question. That's why I invited you to come to Barcelona. I knew you ask these questions. Well, I think it's you know, I've been, of course, educated by some big SIs before I started my life at Rojo, and for us it was, you know, always the business, right? But we know that the business, of course, can never achieve those goals without the proper support of IT, and you know, it is a continuous a cycle, right? The business has a vision, a mission, targets, and IT has to be prepared and think beyond, right? I mean, as an architect, you know, that's our role to look beyond. So in this case, I think digital transformation, it's about improving customer experience, yeah? Optimizing and processes, improving supply chain processes, and going beyond these limits that sometimes, you know, systems integrations set. So in short, I will say that, of course, it's beyond IT. It's certainly about the business and their goals, enabling them achieving those goals.
So IT as an enabler, right?
Of course.
And I think that's the perfect take, because I do see that. I think the projects, migration projects like this, which are going to impact so much, are going to impact IT in a sense, but it's more about how do we take this opportunity to impact the business in a better way, so that in the future, whenever these projects are completed, the business is running smoother, better, and performing much better than what it does now. And that's where I see IT coming in, and where I see integration coming in. That we need to be very creative, we need to innovate, we need to make sure that we propose things that are going to be effective in the future, not effective only on the part of how do we make the business better, but also how do we make the business more cost effective.
Precisely, and also how do we make the business, and especially companies like you, Roberto, where you're working at JDE and many others, manufacturing products, manufacturing goods, and the supply chain. It's something which, especially the last years, with the pandemic, with some disruptions in the logistics. I mean, organizations have realized that it is time they should be prepared for this event, right, that you cannot predict, and become resilient. And I think there is where digital transformation plays an important role, and the best businesses will be those which are fully integrated and aware of what is happening and all those events around them, and act upon them. Talking about events, we know that the topic of event-driven architecture is very hot. It's not new, but these days it's like, you know, after AI, event-driven architecture in our industry of integration, of enterprise integration, there is no day that passes and you hear about event-driven architecture. But the question is, do you consider EDA a real vital element in the modernization of integration, or is it nice to have? Because that's something sometimes, you know, we come across this doubt or this question.
That's a great question. Well, I think in general, what I see out there when I speak to people is that the hardest part is not really implementing EDA. Is not also getting products, because products are out there, many different products. The topic about EDA is educating people and really people understanding what it is all about. Because it's not only about the tools, right? It's about the mindset. It's about changing the way that you do things. And we've been looking at it. I mean, for 5 years now in JDE, that's been the topic. And you mentioned something that was quite interesting, because I joined JDE during COVID. So I never met my team in person. And we implemented EDA without being in the office. So everybody was at home. So we had people in different places of the Netherlands, but we had people in India, and we had people in the Philippines, and we were all working together towards this, right? And it was just an amazing experience how to approach something like this. So
absolutely. I mean, you should write a book about that, huh? How to implement EDA during pandemic times.
During pandemic times, yeah. So that transformation is about the mindset. It's not really about the technology, right? And that's why I was mentioning before is, well, we are enablers. We can do amazing things in IT, right? So if we choose the right tools and the right topics, we can do great things. But enabling the business to continue to run and improve during those times, that was really, and that was really good. But that we had some success stories with a couple of partners, and also we got an innovation award because of the continuous, let's say, work on EDA that we've been doing. Especially when you ask about, is it a nice to have? I think it was a nice to have, but I think now as the world is becoming interconnected and we are reacting to events every day, with everything that we do, just by having a phone, you can just see that. But I mean, that's the least of the important things. When you see things coming or happening in the business, how interconnected all of these things are, it's impossible to think that you can still do things in the traditional way of point-to-point or batching, and I think you need to continue to evolve, and EDA is in my opinion, the way to go. And it's important that we educate what an event is, and how events are interconnected in the company. How do they relate to each other? Also, how one of those events can react to many others, right? And you can see it in the office. If you just walk around the office and you start talking to people and you understand the business processes, you can see that all of those things that they do regularly, they connect to everybody else. Right? So if we can just transform or understand that we can transform those processes into digital processes through events, I think it's a game changer. So for me, it's not a nice to have anymore. I think it's the most important transformation and integration that we have seen in the past years.
Thank you for giving your insights on this, because actually we live in this world, everything is an event, right? So I think it makes completely sense that also for in the world of business and the corporate, event-driven is the way to go. Obviously, I think you will concur with me that not every process is necessarily event-driven and candidate, but I would say that at least if you are in a position, I mean, like you are, Roberto, at JDE, and sometimes we play that role also with our clients. If you're in a position to dictate or influence, recommend the future of a company when it comes to their future integration strategy, then you must at least have a full overview of those integrations, those processes which will benefit and add value to the business by moving them, transforming them into event-driven, because the opportunity is there and the value can be unmeasurable. It can be very, very substantial.
Yeah, I think at this point you will have to really talk me through and convince me about not doing something event-driven. That's what we do now. That's what we do now in JDE, right?
Isn't? I mean, I think that's a very known quote. I think it was one of the first Amazon Web Services CTO that said something like, "Okay, guys, he sent this memo across Amazon Web Services or Amazon. From now on, everything is API driven. So comply or explain."
Right.
So you should maybe send a memo to like that.
The memo is out there, but
okay, the memo is out there.
I think the message is out there, but I think also what's important there is that there are limitations to what you can do with EDA. The limitation is not in the mindset. The limitation is in the applications that you connect to, because not every application is ready. So there are applications that are still trying to, well, not trying, but maybe still pushing the idea of we need to do this in batches. We need to do this through ETL processes, and that's okay. If it's the right use case, like you said, I think it's okay. But as we go, I cannot expect that in 5 years, I will still have an application that will ask me to move an X amount of data for integration through batches of, I don't know, gigabytes of data or megabytes of data every hour, every 2 hours, because the business will just continue to lose opportunities reacting to that information. We cannot continue to react every hour, every 24 hours, every set amount of days. We need to be able to react in real time.
And that's a very good point, because I believe, I'm a fervent, I have put on my LinkedIn profile now, I'm an integration aficionado, because I really feel like, just like Latino that we are, I feel like we have a duty, to help these organizations, to help the businesses we work with and our partners, in their journey to the truly digital transformation that adds value to the business. And when I see at 2025 a SaaS software that claims to be, we can integrate with SAP, okay? Then you have the SaaS platform. Okay, guys, where is your SFTP? Where are the files? Okay, you can have that as an option, but you should also offer customers like you that have decided that for me, this is the road ahead, an event-driven option or any other option that that fits within the strategy of the customer, and not force me to stay in the in the old world of files and batch-based processes. That's my belief.
I think you're right.
When we were talking about the EDA just a moment ago, you mentioned something that caught my attention, and actually is this point about those applications which are not yet able to connect to the EDA or support the EDA way of communication. How do you see that in terms of the interoperability and connectivity between SAP and other systems?
Roberto, I think that's an interesting question, because as integration practices, we need to continue to support those use cases, right? Sometimes we might divert. So in my experience, what we've also seen is, well, sometimes we need to enable it through integration. Sometimes data and analytics is a better solution, right? So we don't really need to be the type of people that will, or the type of practices that want to capture the whole thing. I mean, there are tools for that too. So sometimes ETL is a much better solution than what we can do with integration, and we should be clear about that. Now, in terms of enabling us as integration practices, I think companies like SAP, for example, that I know you work with so much, need to continue to support us. I think it's not only about enabling, but also the responsibility that they have with having so many big customers and large enterprises around the globe, that they need to be able to support all of these use cases through connectors. I think the connectors are the key, as always, and they need to be able to support all of this when we need to implement it. Like I said, it's not all the time about integration, but if it's possible and it's supported and that the connectors are there, I think integration can do it.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And the thing is, the world is it's not only with SAP systems. Of course, there is a lot of SAP systems in those large corporations, but the support of connectivity and also, I think it goes beyond technology, right? Because these days also, like you said, supporting the use cases. I think, and the way Rojo is doing that together with SAP as well in many cases is we are providing these blueprints, which are basically pre-cooked recipes for order to cash, supply chain, human resources, and so on, CRM. And organizations can take those blueprints, download them, and enrich them to their own purpose, to their own applications. And that brings really an acceleration of 60–70% sometimes when compared if you start from scratch. So I agree with you that SAP and other big vendors should embrace this notion that connectivity is key to achieve that full integrated enterprise.
That is right. I think now I want to take the chance to ask you a question because I've been very positive about this topic. And you know, we discussed before, years ago when we started talking, we discussed about AI at some point. Yeah. And you were telling me, Roberto, how do you see AI? And I was thinking like, I don't know. I mean, there's so much hype about it. I really don't see this thing working in the enterprise at the moment.
You were optimistic, but critical.
Yeah, very critical, I would say. Yeah. Now, I'm like, it's very encouraging to see how things are changing, and I see an evolution now. And for me, Agentic AI, it's something that I really want to go into. I think it's something that will trigger so many interesting use cases and things in companies that are just going to be game changers. But as we evolve with that, what is your opinion? Where do you see it? Because I think your opinion might have changed also in the past 3 years.
Of course, I'm getting older and getting more gray hair, so indeed also my opinion is an evolution. But I'm happy you're asking that. Look, I think what we are seeing, it's revolutionary. I think it's comparable to what we went through. I mean, we're almost in the same age category, and with the internet hype in the early 2000s and 90s. And with Agentic AI or AI itself, it's you know, we are making giant steps, and especially in our industry. I think for integration, it will only mean more demand for connected systems, because all these agents, they have something in common. These AI applications, agents, they're all hungry or thirsty for data. And of course, if you want to have convincing and meaningful results, valuable results for the business, you have to provide them with good data, right? Data that you can trust from many different angles. And that means also that integration, whether it's transactional integration or data integration, will only get more demand. And for us as integration ambassadors, integration experts, we have, of course, to prepare for that. And I think we are doing a great job. If you ask me, for instance, from Rojo point of view, we are already delivering many adapters for it. I mean, we have the Snowflake adapter. There is also an LLM adapter coming soon within the SAP integration suite. And all of those, we play a role in this revolution of the Agentic AI. And I'm very excited as well, because at some point I believe there will be this kind of internet of AI agents. And as we went through that phase with the internet, there must be a standardization. And that's a topic which I'm planning, by the way, to write, well, not a book yet, but something about it. If you want to collaborate, we should do that, because it's about these standardizations that the agents need also to come up with in order to have this multi-agent coordination, right? So Roberto, how is your view on that? Because I understand, I have seen some nice podcasts or videos out there, where JDE was also sharing in some events some first results around AI in combination with EDA. Can you tell us more about that, and how does it translate to real added value to the business, and does it touch SAP, or is it something else?
Well, in general, I think Agentic is, in the context of what we're developing, you can think in a way that we think Agentic should be tied to integration. And maybe just because I love integration, but I mean, the use cases that it enables is just amazing. Not only on the perspective of reacting to things in the business, right? From the perspective of cost saving. Although we need to be very responsible. I think we were discussing this some time ago. We need to be very responsible as to what we think is cost saving, right? I don't really enjoy the terms of saving hours, for example. I think that marketing part, I really don't enjoy it. The reason why is, well, I think as someone told me in a conversation just a couple of days ago, while I was in a conference, we are also responsible to bring the right message. And these kinds of things that we will develop, they will impact not only processes, but they will also impact people. And but putting that aside, let's say if we focus on the technology side of things, man, the use cases. We developed one that for me was simple thing in JDE. Where is my order, right? So if you think about that question, what is associated with answering it? And if you're kind of in a customer service agent role, what do you need to know in order to solve that question? There's so many things that can go wrong with an order, right? So if a process, let's say, is not connecting from the e-commerce website to our ERP, like SAP, then we have a problem. What happens when we do the fulfillment part? What happens if the stock is not there? What happens if, I don't know, the shipment goes wrong? What happens if the delivery goes wrong? So many different events that you can see that are fully interconnected. And once you have agents running, let's say, or let's say executing certain parts of those business processes, and interconnecting with each other, sending information to each other or reacting to those events, then it's much easier for a customer service agent, instead of going to 5 different systems and taking, I don't know, 1 hour, 3 hours to solve something like that. It would be really cool just to say, okay, well, agent, can you tell me what's wrong with my order? And then this agent can communicate to all of the rest that are
give you the answer.
That are specific for certain things, and they will give you the answer in seconds.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
minutes.
solve it, because that's what we want, right?
Of course. And then, I mean, you're giving customer service, it's going to be much better. But also cost-wise, internally, you're going to get so much better results. So, and I know this is going to be something big, for example, for cost centers or customer service processes that are subcontracted, because you can optimize the cost. So if you were hiring, I don't know, 100 people for customer service externally, let's say, how many of those do you actually need once all of these processes are running? That's where I also discussed about the responsibility that we have to give the right message, right?
Roberto, sorry to interrupt you, because it's a very interesting topic, but there is a burning question. Does it mean that if you go through that journey, that path of agentic AI, and you already mentioned a very concrete use case, I mean, does it mean that you have to adapt or change completely your way of, and you know, for your data strategy, you know, your data quality, your data synchronization, or can you transition into it?
So I think, Roberto, we need to transition, right? So it's not about having a data strategy fully ready. I think most companies don't have a data strategy fully ready. And if you wait for that data strategy to be there, then it's going to take you years. By the time you do that, I mean, the opportunities are gone, right? So we need to transition into that, and as we start moving into developing new use cases, those use cases should include the data strategy, so that we make sure that anything that we do, any information we feed into the LLM, any information we feed into these agents, is the information that should be there, and not just any information. And in any case, if you don't have the data strategy, what I've been thinking is, well, you have the system of record. And at the moment, that's what you trust. So if you're trusting your system of record to have the right data, then connect to the system of record to get the data that is going to feed the agents, right? I think for me, that's the simplest way to go. So it doesn't really matter at the moment if you have a data strategy or not to start. You don't need to wait for this to be perfect.
It's about starting.
It's about starting, test it out, try it out. I think you're gonna get surprised about the results. And once you get there, then I think the organization will just, gather around it and will continue to pursue these opportunities.
I couldn't agree more with you, Roberto. That's what I said at the beginning, right? We speak the same language. So, and this is great. Roberto, moving about a totally different topic, but I think something that also gets us closer and we share the same values. I understand and know that you started a few years ago something unique, something very special, but it's also very close to technology. So what does Guatemala and indigenous community have to do with integration?
Well, a lot of people would say nothing. A lot of people would say nothing. And well, this is something that started years ago. And I think when we first met, about 6-7 years ago that we met, this was, I think I told you about it. It was, I told you about it. I had an idea. I saw the need in communities in Guatemala to actually help them get jobs. And we have a big problem in LATAM, and it's migration, right? So family separation, because there are no opportunities. So I said, well, if we have that problem, we're not going to solve it. Roberto cannot solve it, right? But we can help. And the way that we do that is acknowledging that the problem is there, and then trying to find a way to help people get better and get better opportunities. And maybe we will not help, let's say, older people, but we will help their children, and we will help the young generation. And the young generation is so much into IT. It's incredible. It's not about the big cities, right, anymore. You can find exceptional talent.
There's a lot
in
of talent,
places
right?
where you didn't expect. And that's exactly what we've seen now. Is we have this initiative where we have enabled and trained people in integration practices, because that's what we do. And it's been an amazing journey. We found people in so many regions of Guatemala that are exceptional at doing this job from home, either by connecting through the internet with a traditional connection, or by using something like Starlink, which has been enabling us for doing these kinds of things. And having these people work from their communities to places like the US or Canada or I don't know, Europe, Asia, it's been such an amazing experience. And that's what we continue to do. So we continue to evolve. We continue to bring more opportunities to people in Guatemala through Guatemaltech, right? Which is the social initiative, Guatemaltech. That's how it was born. I think at some point we tried to say, okay, well, I think we need to change the name, because people don't really relate Guatemala with technology, right? It's more close to call centers and other types of things. But what we've done is we brought that talent, outside. People now understand that we have really, really great talent. Young people, we're talking about the really young people here that are investing the little money that they might have in an education. And I think we're responsible to bring them an opportunity. And it's what we're doing now. People are starting to see, to recognize the quality of these resources, and that allows us to continue to expand. We've now reached many different regions in Guatemala, as we call them, departments. In Guatemala, we have 22. We've now reached more than 1/3 of them. And we have young people working from those places. As we will continue. We just gave out now 30 more full scholarships. And we will continue to work on that, because we really believe that we have something, and the world is also looking at it, and they are recognizing that there are opportunities for them. I know you guys are also doing something interesting, not in LATAM, or maybe a little bit in LATAM, but I know you're also reaching many parts of the world. So would you like to share some of that?
We are doing a lot of CSR work for communities in LATAM a little bit, but around the world. But before that, I want to thank you for sharing your story about Guatemaltec, because it's truly inspiring and something that comes very close to my heart. And at Rojo, also giving back to society is in our DNA, and something that we started already from the beginnings of the company, because we feel like, you know, we also have a duty to give back to society. So we are working with different NGOs in Africa, where we're helping them in kind, but also with technology. So we have built a complete child registration system for their rescue missions that they have. In India, we are working with responsible charity, also helping and giving education opportunity to many kids and children, which will never get that opportunity if we didn't support them. So for us, it's very important to provide this support, because coming from Latin America, we know that education is not necessarily a right, but rather a privilege. So I think we are in an incredible journey, and we will continue to do so. So Roberto, with this, of course, I want to enjoy the sunny Barcelona. I want to thank you, really thank you for your feedback, all these stories, and wish you all of the best with JDE, of course, in this digital transformation that you're going through, and Guatemaltec, of course. And of course, this will not be the last one, I hope.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. I think the topics are just so interesting that, as we have seen before, we can go for hours. So having these conversations they don't stop. They just continue. As topics will continue to come in, I think we'll have much more to discuss. So very happy to be here, and very happy to be back in the next one.
Yeah, and next time, who knows where. And we welcome, of course, the comments and feedback from the people watching this video. We hope that you enjoy it and also found it interesting to be in conversation with Roberto Acevedo. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.